you bring to the table influences what you get back.
Would you also suggest that some, just in ordinary laboratory experimentation, some experimental results might be skewed by some unaccounted for psychokinetic influence upon the material objects involved in the investigation?
Well, when we're dealing with particle physics, such small entities that we don't understand, I'm open to that possibility, certainly. But even just on a more obvious level that anybody could accept, there were experiments done in the early 20th century where I forget the scientist's name, but he wanted to measure the cranial space of different skulls, human skulls of different races, and he found that African American skulls were smaller than European skulls. But then years later, Stephen Jay Gould actually went back and did the same experiment and found that his methodology was flawed, and that really there's no difference. There's no. But just his attitude, coming from that particular historical period when racism was just a foregone conclusion, that attitude influenced the results. So even just on that very obvious level, the scientists' background, what they bring to their experiments, influences what they get back. I mean, as far as psychokinesis, while I've experienced, telepathy and things like that, but actually, the mind controlling material bodies, I haven't had any experience of that. I'm open to the possibility, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and it's the right thing, of course. I mean, the humanly right thing is to say, I haven't experienced it. That is something that is something that should be experienced, but until I have experienced it, then I will suspend my judgment and I will wait for either the experience or with communication with someone who has had a strong experience in this area and can narrate it to me in a convincing way. So I think that's the healthy approach. Science is not. Sometimes it's called hard science and hard evidence and so forth. So sometimes the evidence is a bit softer than the experimenters, and the scientists would like it to be. And this is shown sometimes when, after even repeated experiments, it suddenly it's discovered that, well, this isn't valid, and they finally find the flaws in it. This specific reference that you made to the person who was measuring the inside of ethnically diverse crania is the results were skewed because there was this blinding prejudice on the part of the person making the study. But I think at the same time this could happen, in more benign ways. One book that I found by chance, and I'd heard about it, and then I found it and read a little bit of it. I didn't purchase it from the bookstore, but entitled Serendipity, and it's popular science, so it's weak in that respect. But it's simply a narration of the scientific discoveries that have been made, starting from a surprise experience, either in the laboratory or outside of the laboratory. I mean, even Pasteur, discovered the idea of vaccination by studying a cow maid, who didn't get the smallpox, right. And why, So a lot of the initial discovery takes place outside of the laboratory environment. And this serendipity, this surprise discovery, is part of scientific history.
Certainly.
And just to suggest, I don't know if this connects, of course it doesn't connect directly with the question of Psi, but it does with the notion of Psi, of science, as being in perfect control of the data. It sometimes isn't. In a positive way, it's sometimes good that it isn't, because the data then somehow emerge and manifest themselves outside of the current procedures, which have not been appropriate to
That's how we learn.
to learning. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we better wrap it up. It's already a 3-part
Oh my goodness!
video,
Yeah,
so
yeah. we can go and cut some parts out,
we could probably do
especially mine. I speak slowly and sometimes rattle on. So
but, thanks, Thomas.
you're welcome.
And,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Useful conversation.
definitely.